Rose Murphy and I volunteer at the Grass Valley Museum and Cultural Center.
I'm Lisa Redfern with Sierra College Press. And we're about to take you on a landscape journey through Nevada County's nonprofit organizations.
I'm Dylan Hendricks. I'm an estate planning attorney in Grass Valley. And my background is largely in the charitable world. I worked for UC Berkeley in their plan giving office for about 8 years before coming up here and going into private practice. And I'm pretty heavily involved with the nonprofit community here in town.
Could you give us a landscape view of our nonprofit community in Nevada County?
Nevada County is pretty unique, I think even relative to the counties immediately around us, in a number of ways. One is that we have a history of continuous charitable giving and support in this community. So Ladies Relief Society here is one of the oldest nonprofits in California, maybe the oldest continuous nonprofit in California. From there, it's a community that has really relied on the nonprofit community in a whole lot of different ways, and relies on it, I think, more than most communities. And I think there are a couple reasons for that. One is that Nevada County has uniquely wide wealth disparities. So a lot of people with a lot of resources and a lot of people with not a lot of financial resources. So there's a very high level of need, but also enough monetarily to really help meet that need. I think the other thing we see in this community that is, well, two other things we see. One is that people are willing to donate their time at really, really high levels. So it's not just the financial donations, it's really across the board, people showing up. The other thing we see is a really unique partnership with the county. I think our county has recognized that dollar for dollar, in a lot of cases, our nonprofits can provide a higher level of service than the county can in providing for the same needs. And so you'll see that where other counties might hold money and build programs on homelessness or on, youth needs or whatever, here, what they're trying to do is build more partnerships. So that money would be then granted out to a nonprofit that they think has a little bit more nimbleness or community relationships or whatever to do that. So I think all of those things together mean we have a very robust, very active nonprofit community here.
What does a charitable advisor do?
Well, a charitable advisor, that's not something that's sort of legally defined anywhere. So charitable advisor is going to be somebody who can help you find your way of giving and being in a charitable world. And that might be somebody who helps you identify charities, or somebody who helps you with tax advice and how to give, or any manner of other kinds of issues that might come up. Generally, I would say when you're working with a charitable advisor, we're talking about giving of your financial resources, not necessarily your time or your talent, but that's sort of what the industry is designed to do. A charitable advisor isn't necessarily an attorney, so it might be somebody who helps you do some tax planning now. Should I give cash for my annual gift, or should I give appreciated securities, or does it make sense to try to give this piece of real estate that I no longer want to be a landlord on? They can help with all those kinds of questions.
I think the next thing we wanted to talk about is when you're actually giving money or other assets to a charity, identifying purpose for that gift. So in some cases, you're going to give cash and you're going to say, do your charitable business with it. That's great. From a charity's perspective, they're delighted with that gift. But in some cases, that giving might be a bit more strategic. I want to invest in the very long term of this organization. And then you might be talking about funding something like an endowment, which is a perpetual fund where the charity gets a payout each year, but they can never spend down that principal. Others might be donating land that's going to be held by the organization for its purposes, whether that's something like their Yuba Land Trust, where they might have a conservation easement on it, or it might be a trail, it might be just a part of a property that's subject to an easement, or it might be a building that they're actually going to use in their business. other kinds of, most giving is current giving. So it's expendable. You can go and you can sell this item or asset or whatever, and then you can just put it into use in your program. And then it's really up to the program to decide how are they going to plan for their long-term needs. Are they going to have an emergency fund? Are they going to have sort of these other plans in place to make sure that that gift doesn't, get spent today without a plan to continue their programming into the future?
Charitable giving changes throughout life stages. And so there are different stages that we're going to talk about today where you can make an impact to your community no matter what age you are.
Like everything in life, when we're raising children, we lead by example. As we were packing up from Dylan's interview, she told me about how she and her son were eating lunch at Humpty Dumpty. A distressing piece of world news came on the TV. In order to help him realize that he wasn't helpless, they came up with a plan for a bake sale. And the bake sale would raise money, and he could choose which organization he wanted to donate to, the one that he thought that would help the situation that he was worried about. A lot of times there are restrictions for ages, and so if a parent goes along, then a middle schooler or teen can participate in activities. As you will see coming up very soon, Kayla and Carla talk about their experiences doing that.
In the teen years, students positively can impact their community with the energy that they have. This also contributes greatly to their college applications or resumes because they're building skills. They can join their parents, or they can often find their own way to give back to the community.
The next life stage is young adult, when you've got a job and you're earning steady income, but you don't have big chunks of money to donate. There's still something you can do.
Monthly donations greatly benefit nonprofits by providing a reliable and predictable source of income. While a one-time contribution of $120 may strain my budget, a recurring donation of just $10 a month promotes the organization's financial stability and helps them better forecast future cash flow. This consistent support allows nonprofits to plan and allocate resources more effectively. It is also easier on my own pocketbook.
You sort of reached an age where maybe you're earning enough, you've accumulated enough that tax planning becomes a bigger concern. Some of your assets maybe have appreciated in value, and selling your stocks might cause a big capital gain hit. So that's the stage of life where I think having advice is really beneficial, because if you're looking at, am I going to give cash, or am I going to give my car, or am I going to give appreciated securities, you want to have somebody who can look at those numbers with you and say, what's the biggest bang for your buck? I mentioned appreciated securities because you can donate them, take a market value deduction, and not have to realize your capital gains. So there are a lot of those sort of capital appreciation assets that are great gifts in that stage of life when you're giving maybe a bit more, but trying to be maybe a little more strategic about the source. People, as they reach retirement age, the way their income is coming in changes really dramatically. They might have a pension, but also have saved money in retirement accounts, or they might be selling a business and need to transfer their employment into a stream of income. And that opens the door to a whole lot of other charitable options, like a charitable remainder trust, where you make a gift now, you get a current deduction, but then you get income over the remainder of your life, or a charitable gift annuity, which functions similarly, but has a little bit more safeguards. So that might also be an opportunity to donate something like a rental that you don't want to deal with anymore, or a vacation home that you're not going to use anymore. And again, especially on those real estate assets that you've taken depreciation, you can avoid the capital gain hit by making the donation.
You work full-time, right?
I'm full-time employed, self-employed, so my activities are 100% volunteer. for the society.
I was going to say, how do you manage a full-time job and this?
It's a delicate balancing act in the volunteer world.
You're clearly passionate about it. What drives you to come and do what you do?
I certainly enjoy history, but I also have the pleasure of being an administrator for the society. I'm basically a business manager, and we have a pretty big operation, which has a lot of moving parts that require management, business expertise, and that's what I bring to the table. Now, I had been a member here in the society since probably 89 or 90, soon after I moved up here, and I had attended functions periodically, but wasn't directly involved in leadership until about 12 years ago.
Okay.
And here again, I joined as a general board member, but soon became treasurer, vice president, quickly ascended through the ranks to assume the position I currently hold today, which is still president.
So you're good at it, you're enthusiastic, and people notice that.
I guess so.
Okay, so what we came to talk about today was a gift, which is a legacy gift, and I have learned during this project what I was calling legacy was just really donations, and then legacy is more. Do you want to describe exactly what legacy means?
Well, to me, it means planning ahead. It's planning on a gift in the future to provide for your nonprofit, your favorite nonprofit. That's what legacy means to me. Others may have a different interpretation in it. And I've known quite a few folks, a lot of adult scouters that had planned, done their estate planning, and left gifts, bequests to our council. And so I have quite a bit of experience with that during the scouting years. And the same is true here in the society. We know of planned gifts coming to us, and we receive those periodically. And so we have some experience with folks that have done their legacy planning right here in the Historical Society as well. Alan Best and his wife, they, I think, more or less took the initiative to plan ahead. From the son who I've interacted with quite a bit, Brian, I understand mom and dad were frugal, and they weren't high income wage earners, but they invested carefully, and they also owned real estate in the Bay Area, bought probably in the 50s, and so they did amass a sizable estate. And mom and dad actually had planned in their estate planning to leave a percentage of their estate to designated nonprofits. We, the society, being one of them. I think there was 2 or 3 in total. I don't know the other entities. And so they did that planning through their estate plan. They had to have a trust. They had a living trust. But at some juncture, Dad decided he wanted to accelerate that gift. He wanted to see the benefit of the giving during his lifetime, not after he passed away, which of course we thought was a terrific idea. And that's not an uncommon strategy from a fundraiser. We do try to encourage potential donors to accelerate that gift. Try to give it in your lifetime. If you have surplus funds, why wait? Provide it to the nonprofit today so you can see what your money will do. In fact, you can designate what your money can do, you can provide. And in fact, that has been kind of the Best Family's directive. They'd like to know how the funds are going to be used. So Dad, Alan, did exactly that. He funded, he took the money, as I understand, that was going to go to nonprofits, and he put it into what it's called an expendable fund with the Marin County Community Foundation. So they actually hold the funds. He made the donation, and then the Marin County Community Foundation is distributing that money out at the directive of son Brian. So they know it's going to where mom and dad wanted the money to go over time.
So how did Dad, Alan, get to enjoy watching that gift?
He was still alive when those funds were dispersed, and we did receive funds approximately 5 years ago. A good portion of the money he'd set aside for us was distributed out to us, and I had the pleasure of prizing them of how those monies were being used, because I knew that was important, and we did exactly that. Today they know exactly where those monies are and have they been expended or saved. A lot of that money we have set aside for future use, and is set aside in our community foundation, which is the Sacramento Community Foundation. It's parked there in safe hands and earning a respectable rate of return, but available for our use at any time we so need it.
What kind of projects that you've shared with the family that they were like really happy to learn about?
Well, obviously the Railroad Museum is pretty active. They're a consumer of donated funds, and there are numerous rail car and engine rebuilding projects, and so I think that's the most glamorous one. And we have a fresh grant on its way to invest here in the History Center. We are in desperate need of a fire suppression smoke detection system, and we simply did not have the money to specifically put it into this asset, and as of today, we do.
So this is Cyril's library.
This is a fresh grant.
Congratulations.
From the Best family.
Excellent.
And that's a good example. We shared the need, the very pressing need to do something about our smoke detection, protecting our library basically here, and they've agreed to fund that.
That's the first I've really heard of like people experiencing living with the legacy, and I love that. It just seems like that just spreads the joy all over.
Oh, I love it. And instead of thinking kind of retroactively, oh, she would have enjoyed seeing what the money went to or whatever, which is more often not the case. In this case, knew to a large extent what the money was being used for. The advice is work with your estate planning professional, because they work for you as a donor. And I think some attorneys and doing your estate planning are more proactive on suggesting or ideas of how to, what do you want to, where's your legacy going to go? Where do you want to leave it? And they can guide you doing your estate plan to make that happen in a meaningful way.